You know, the last time we saw Sasha Banks on WWE television was a long time ago. And the last time we saw her on TV, her and Naomi were defending the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. They were defending the Women's Tag Team titles against Natalya and Shayna Baszler. I don't know if you remember that. And the two of them, at a Monday Night Raw, after feeling disrespected, threw down their tag team titles backstage, and they left. They walked out. That was almost 2 years ago. It's hard to believe that it's been almost a full 2 years since we have seen this woman on weekly television. But that's how long it's been. That's 2 years too long. And a few months ago, rumors started to bubble up that Mercedes, is she going to go to WWE? Is she going to go to AEW? Of course, she had left. She went to Japan. She reinvented herself. She had to come up with a new name. She had to come up with a new gimmick. She trademarked a whole bunch of things. Mone and Money and the CEO, all these different terms, right? She was going to create her own path, carve her own path independent of WWE. And then she got hurt. Right in the middle of this run that she was going to go on in Japan and the independent scene, she was fighting for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship that she would have won. And she got hurt. Broke her ankle. And had to miss a very long time as a result. But then we saw her at Wembley Stadium. There she was in the crowd. And they even acknowledged her on camera multiple times, in fact, during that show. And it looked like, okay, maybe she's going to land in AEW. Then there was some talk that she was in discussions to go back to WWE. And then those talks broke down. And the Royal Rumble was coming up. And the story with Bayley and Damage Control. And it seemed tailor-made for a Sasha Banks return to WWE. But then we got word that it didn't look like she was going to WWE. It looked like she was going to go and become All Elite. But until you see it with your own two eyes, you can't be sure, right? Anything can happen. Once the Rumble came and went, and there was no appearance by Sasha Banks, it seemed pretty clear where this woman was going to end up. And then Tony Khan announced big business in Boston. Boston, right? It was pretty clear what they were doing here. And he gave this woman the CM Punk debut treatment where he never said a word. He never mentioned her name. He never, outside of the advertisement with the word boss in the background, he never actually did much in the way of teasing a debut for her on this show. He loaded this show up with some big matches. We had an AEW World title match tonight. We had a big trios match with Okada and the Elite tonight. We had Darby Allin in what may be his final match tonight. We had a lot of things announced for the show, but not the return of this woman to weekly wrestling television. But then we got to Boston tonight, and what did we get? Well, to the surprise of no one, Mercedes Mone is All Elite. The worst kept secret in wrestling, I know. But there she was, on television tonight. The 2-year drought is over. This woman has finally landed somewhere, thank God, because, like I said, 2 years is far too long for her to be off TV. And the longer you stay away, the more that star tends to fade. So she was going to make a decision. Her mind has been made up. She is now officially All Elite. And I'm reminded of a report that was out a little over a year ago. And it might have been Meltzer. I don't remember exactly where it was. But there was a report that was out right before she debuted at Wrestle Kingdom. That talks broke down with her in WWE about a potential return the first time. And allegedly, someone in power at WWE felt that this woman's star power was not on the level of a Becky Lynch, or that she couldn't be a star at the level of a Becky Lynch. And they felt that she had already peaked as a star. Well, if tonight was any indication, she had not peaked as a star. In fact, now she has a chance to start all over again in a brand new place with brand new opponents. And tonight, if you were to book a debut for this woman, as far as hoping for a great reaction, hoping that, the fans really see it as a big deal, Tony Khan could not have hit a bigger home run. He could not have asked for a better response for Mercedes in AEW than the one that he got in Boston tonight. And Boston, obviously friendly territory for her. So she was going to get a great reaction. It would have been shocking for her not to. But now she has officially joined the women's division in AEW. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to say a lot of different things about the move. There's going to be WWE fans that are upset that she didn't go back there. Why are you going to AEW for? In a few weeks, nobody's going to care. They're going to get 700,000 viewers for Dynamite, and they're going to, poo-poo the move. And then you're going to have people who look at it as some kind of groundbreaking, ground-shaking, earth-shattering thing in AEW that's going to be it's going to be something that changes the face of this company. I fall somewhere in the middle on this. First of all, she is a huge pickup for Tony Khan in this women's division. She's a great talent. She's very marketable. She does have a lot of fans that have stuck with her and still remember her and want to watch her and cheer her, okay, from her WWE run. Those fans will follow her. So she has a following. We know that. And Tony Khan can find a way to tap into that and make money off that and merchandise that if he's smart, right? Market it. So it's a smart pickup for him. But I cannot sit here and tell you that this is going to be a game changer, that this is going to be earth-shattering for AEW, because the reality is we don't know how groundbreaking or earth-shattering for the women's division it is going to be. What I do know is a move like this, and someone coming from where she comes from, and coming with the fan following that she has, could be something that does change the AEW women's division for the better. But ultimately, it's not just up to Mercedes Moné, it's up to Tony Khan. And this has always been the case, whether it was Deonna Purrazzo when he brought her in, or any of the other people that he has brought in, male or female, but especially in the women's division. I mean, you can raise some of the best women's wrestlers of all time from the dead and bring them into AEW. And the fact is, it all boils down at the end of the day to the booking of the women's division. Tony Khan has been allergic to doing anything more than just the standard one match on a Wednesday night with the women. Tonight, he gave them the main event. It was Willow, Nightingale, and Riho in the main event. Mercedes opened the show. Mercedes closed the show. And that right there is a sign of what could be for the women's division when you bring someone like that into the company. It all boils down to how he views this acquisition, for what he is probably paying this woman and what he is investing in her. Okay, we've heard a lot of stories this week about Okada and $14 million and all of this kind of stuff. I don't know what he's paying her. I'm sure she's making very good money. Okay, she's making very good money in AEW. For the investment that he is making in this woman, you would hope that he has plans for her and that he plans to build that division around her. And tonight was a great example, opening and closing the show with her already paying dividends for the women's division. Now it's 1 week. It's only 1 week. What's it going to look like next week and the week after? That's the question. And that's why you can't say that it's going to be a game changer. It could be. For the women's division, it could be. But until we see how he is going to book her and book these women, we have to reserve judgment on that. The potential is there. The potential is there. People said that when Paige came back, right? Saraya, when she came in, she could be a game changer. How'd that turn out? So let's pump the brakes on that talk. But what I saw from her tonight was a very, very positive sign for the future of this women's division, because now she has all of these different people, all these new faces that she can work with. And you know what? The Mercedes that I think is the best, it's actually heel Mercedes. And I don't think we're going to get heel Mercedes for a while. So for all the people that she can work with right now, once she turns heel, I think she'll be even better, and she'll have all new opponents to work with. She could work with all the baby faces at that point. So, the possibilities are endless for her. I'm very happy for her that she has recovered and made her way back finally. Frankly, I have just been exhausted. All this talk about where she's going to go and will she and won't she. At least now we know where she is. Now the fun can begin. This is a fun show tonight. Tony Khan was building this up as a very special episode of Dynamite. It had a different feel. It had a different energy to it tonight. You had Mercedes. You had Okada. You had Ospreay. Okay, look at the pickups that Tony Khan has made over the last few weeks. Now, I don't know what the ratings are going to be, and I don't know if his investments in these people financially are going to pay off. If he's paying Okada $14 million for 3 years, I don't know if it's going to end up being a good investment for him or not. Talk to me in 3 years. What I do know is already it's paying dividends in terms of the energy and the vibe on this show. It felt like a big deal tonight. It felt almost like, I don't want to say a pay-per-view, but it felt like, like what an old Clash of the Champions would have been back then. One of those special events that just has a different feel to it. That's what this felt like. And Tony Khan is loading up next week's episode too in Toronto because they're going to be heading back up north to Canada. He's going all out for these Dynamites this month. But this was a great show tonight. We had Samoa Joe on the show defending the AEW World Championship against Wardlow. Wardlow, we're going to talk about Wardlow. For all the winners tonight, you can talk about who came out of the show looking like a winner, right? Mercedes and Okada and all these different people, Willow. Wardlow was not one of those people. Wardlow came out of the show the opposite. Wardlow came out of the show looking like a fucking loser. We'll talk about him. The Elite, Okada and the Young Bucks on this show, taking on Eddie Kingston, Penta, and Pac. Good to see Pac back. He's been gone for a while. Will Ospreay was on the show tonight. He flew all the way from the UK here to the US, not to wrestle, but to talk about his match coming up at Dynasty with the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. And we'll get into everything else that happened on a very eventful episode of Dynamite Big Business from Boston. This is your Dynamite review for Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Like and subscribe. 450 likes. Look at this. Even Uncle Saudi is joining us here tonight. 450 likes is the goal for Be the Booker. Super chats are open, as if you couldn't tell. So get them on in. We'll hang out a little bit later on. I'll read through your messages. Let me know what you thought of Big Business tonight. Did it disappoint? Why is Solomonster a Punk hater? Why does he hate Punk so much? What did he ever do to him? I'm not a Punk hater. I don't know why you guys keep saying that. Hey, Oz, was that Oz and Glorious? I believe it was. Oz and Glorious, thank you for the $40 CM Punk drop. They're dropping like crazy here. So we'll talk about those a little bit later. And, oh, by the way, I should mention this. You'll be excited to find out here that tomorrow we're breaking out the 2K24 videos. I finally went hands-on with 2K24 in my Rise mode, specifically. And keep your eyes out, because tomorrow, probably late morning, Sound Off Gamer, first Sound Off Gamer in a long time, is going to be dropping. Playing 2K24. Yikes, indeed. So keep your eyes peeled for that coming up tomorrow. Let's talk about this Dynamite show, though, because it kicked off in the backstage area. Renee Paquette was standing in the parking lot area, and all of a sudden there was a car driving up behind her, honking the horn, and the car stopped, and the door swung open, and we couldn't see who it was. But they cut live to the arena, and so you have to leave it to your imagination as far as who it was, even though we all knew who it was. After Excalibur and Tony Schiavone ran down all the matches for tonight, we heard some new music. We heard some unfamiliar music. We saw the initials CEO. Get ready to hear the initials CEO every single week, because not only was it on the screen, it is a part of her entrance music. Indeed, it was Mercedes Mone. We saw her name on the big screen. Huge reaction as she came out of the tunnel. All the fans at the TD Garden in Boston were very happy to see this woman. Loud chants of CEO. And so Mercedes, after months of speculation, after her appearance in the crowd at Wembley Stadium, we can officially say now she is, in fact, All Elite. She got in the ring. She soaked up the reaction for a while. You could tell she's been waiting a while for that. I did see earlier today that Bayley and Naomi were spotted in Boston, so I think it's safe to say they were at the show tonight, hidden away. Sure, Bayley had her hoodie on and her sunglasses. That's her usual disguise when she pops up at these shows. There to support their friend. So she said, "Boston, I'm home." And the crowd chanted, "Welcome home." So the first thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you for having my back these past 2 years. Thank you for giving me the courage and the strength to be here. Thank you for sticking with me for all of my lows, my highs, my milestones, my titles, my history-making moments. Thank you. And trust me, we're going to be creating so much magic and so many memories together. Because every single one of you, you are the reason why I am here, so thank you. You can tell why. Like, heel Mercedes is the version of Mercedes that I want to see. Like, this is fine for now. She just debuted. There's going to be a lot of enthusiasm for her. We just had Okada debut. He went heel. We don't have to go heel right away with her, but she's at her best when she's heel. Not coming out here and thanking everybody every 5 seconds. She said, if only you knew how much tonight means to me. How much wrestling means to me. I was waiting to see if we would get an Eddie Guerrero reference, and we did. She mentioned Eddie Guerrero gave her a reason to believe that she could do this one day. My dreams got me to lead a women's evolution. My dreams got me to become one of the first women to main event a pay-per-view in this very building. My dreams started when I was 10 years old, and when I was 13, I dropped out of school to take care of my brother. And then at 18 years old and only 90 pounds, she ended up with the Chaotic Wrestling up in Massachusetts, which is where she started training to become, she said, the greatest women's wrestler of all time. And if she can do it, you can do it too. Look at this, an inspirational speech. You want to know why I'm here? Because I need to be here. I want to be here. AEW is the only place where this revolution can be global. We are going to make that happen. I've been watching every week, and I can't wait to tear it up with every woman in that locker room. But let's start with our main event tonight, Riho against Willow Nightingale. Now, Willow, you and I have a lot of unfinished business, and she did not elaborate on what that business is, so they assume that their audience knows the history between them. I don't remember if Excalibur, clarified it on commentary. I don't think he did, but they should. But right now, at Big Business, Mercedes Mone is all elite. And they showed the graphic up on the screen, because it's not official until the graphic is shown. And so they put the graphic up on the screen that you see there. She thanked Tony Khan for the tweet. He probably had the tweet ready to go at that exact moment. And thanked the fans again and told them to say hello to their new CEO. The crowd treated her like a major star. And hopefully that will continue in other cities. But as I said before, a lot of it comes down to, what does Tony Khan have planned for Mercedes? Now remember, he brought in Jennifer Peppermint. She is now part of the AEW creative team. Now, why did they bring her in? They brought her in because she was basically writing for Sasha when she was in WWE. The two of them became very good friends. She left WWE a few months ago. And the people, when she left, the people who worked there assumed that she was coming to AEW to work with Mercedes. That's why she's there. Now, she's not only working with her. She doesn't have her as her personal writer, the way that Alberto Del Dipshit had his personal ring announcer. She's going to be writing for other people on the roster as well. But the fact that they brought in someone who Mercedes worked with previously, is friendly with, is comfortable with, she will have, a friendly ear on that creative team. Someone that she's comfortable with and familiar with, and who knows what works for her and what doesn't. And that's going to be a leg up for her here on day one, that she already has an ally on that writing team behind the scenes. So I trust that they have a plan in place for her already. It certainly looks that way based on what happened at the end of the show. But the minute that she said that Riho and Willow was the main event tonight, you had to know that this was not going to be the final time that we were going to see Mercedes on the show tonight. So again, positioning her to open the show and close the show is a pretty good sign for her. And of all the opponents for her to get in the ring with, Britt Baker, I don't know where she is right now in her recovery. I know she's had some back problems. Obviously, she was positioned for a long time as the face of the women's division. You have someone like Jamie Hayter eventually will be back. You look at the women's roster that's active right now. You've got Thunder Rosa. You've got Toni Storm, you've got Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Deonna Purrazzo, Riho is in the ring tonight. You got Hikaru Shida. You've got a lot of talent on that roster for her to work with. Mostly people that she's never set foot in the ring with before. So she's got plenty of new matches there, plenty of new stories that they can create. And I'm excited to see her back on TV. Again, it's 2 years. Almost 2 years. It's been too long. It's good to have her back. Now, backstage, AEW World Champion Samoa Joe was interviewed by Renee. He said things felt different tonight because they felt like money. He said he hasn't forgotten what debts need to be paid, and Wardlow is far overdue. Boy, Wardlow must owe somebody money. Wardlow's got like a bookie that's looking to collect on this poor bastard. Joe also said he doesn't lose championships in the Garden. Then we got a vignette. An Undisputed Kingdom vignette that had Adam Cole sitting in a chair reading a story fairy tale style, saying that once upon a time there was a man who was lied to named Wardlow. Yes, he was lied to when the promoter told him that he had big plans for him and he was going to push him as one of his top names in the company. Yes, he was lied to. He said that Wardlow was locked away by a truly evil man. A truly evil man. I know he was talking about MJF, but now that I said that out loud, I just picture Tony Khan being the one that he's talking about. Wardlow slayed many beasts and was decked in gold, but needed to be surrounded by men who hated that evil man as much as he did. A brotherhood bound by undisputed hatred. The warrior Wardlow is ready to fulfill his destiny, presenting the prize to its king. With courage and purpose, Wardlow marched into war, fueled by his hatred of the evil man to slay the beast. And the book that Cole was reading from showed the precious gold was captured, the prophecy fulfilled, the kingdom became whole. Oh boy. Well, it sounded like a good idea in theory. But let's talk about this match, because the match they opened with was the AEW World Heavyweight title match. It was Samoa Joe defending his championship against Wardlow. Wardlow attacked right from the bell, took the fight outside. He slammed Joe into the barricade. Wardlow ripped up, there was a fan in the front row. I don't know if it was planted, it might have been planted, but there was a fan right there. And I say planted because you never know with some of these people. Like he ripped the sign out of the guy's hand, and the way that he was reacting, it's like he was, putting on a show. So he ripped the sign out of the fan's hand. And the sign said, "Joe's gonna kill you." He ripped it up. Wardlow got back in the ring. Wardlow ran into a back elbow, and Joe lit him up with punches. Wardlow fought out of the corner, hit a whisper in the wind. That took us to commercial. Yeah, it will never not be impressive to see someone like Wardlow hitting a move like that. That might be the only thing about Wardlow lately that's impressive. So it was all Wardlow during the break. He took Joe to the corner. He hit his signature hanging knee strike that he does. Joe kicked out. Wardlow missed the swanton to follow up. Joe went to the corner for punches. Wardlow, though, powerbombed Joe out of the corner. Joe, though, swept the legs out from under Wardlow on another powerbomb attempt, and then he sank in the coquina clutch. And Joe, he jumped up on Wardlow's back. And Wardlow, he had him on his back for a few seconds, but then he fell down, fell backwards. Joe still had the choke applied, and he struggled for a little bit, but then eventually Wardlow faded, and the referee, he checked on him, and he called for the bell. And we got the ref stoppage, and Samoa Joe retains. He is still your AEW World Champion. Swerve Strickland comes out from the back, him and Prince Nana. Swerve has a chain in his hand, and he's got revenge in his eyes. And all these security geeks are out there trying to hold him back as he's fighting his way to the ring. Because Joe choked him out on TV last week, so he wants revenge. By the time he was coming down, though, Joe bailed out of the ring, had a nice smile on his face. And that's how they left things between the two of them. The match itself. The match was not bad. It was not a bad match. I was very surprised by the finish, though. On the one hand, pleasantly surprised that they gave us a clean finish, as opposed to some kind of DQ, nonsense from Undisputed Kingdom. For Wardlow, though, it was the worst possible outcome that you could imagine. I mean, the only thing that would have been worse would have been him being squashed. This was one step up from a squash. He was very competitive, but he lost. He lost cleanly in the middle of the ring, and he didn't get pinned. It was not a roll-up. It was not a distraction. It was not a flash pin. He went nighty-night. He got put to sleep by the world champion. Keeps the world champion strong heading into Dynasty. That's good. For Wardlow, not so much. For Wardlow, this was the worst outcome that you could have expected. And that's it for Wardlow. I mean, I watched this, and by the time this match was over, I said, this guy is cooked. His goose is cooked. That's it. Stick a fork in him, he's done. Because where do you go from here with Wardlow? I mean, think about when the Undisputed Kingdom was formed, and we had story time with Adam Cole. And he went around, and he said, Taven and Bennett, right? Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. And we've got we have Roddy, who's going to go after Orange Cassidy in the international title. And we have Wardlow, right? Now, what was the purpose of Wardlow being in the group? The purpose of Wardlow being in the group, other than all of them being united in their hatred of this one man, MJF, was that Wardlow is going to go and win the AEW World title. And when he wins it, he is going to hand it to Adam Cole, which we knew was never going to happen. Had he won the title at some point, he wasn't just going to hand it over to Adam Cole. That would have created another storyline layer for the Undisputed Kingdom. But in order for him to do that, he would have to win the world title first. Now, I did not expect a title change coming into this match. I don't think anybody really did, especially while Swerve is still gunning for Samoa Joe. But when they announced that Wardlow was getting his title match this week, it surprised me because he won the Scramble match of Revolution, had a world title match in his back pocket for whenever, and I thought they would drag it out for a while. I thought he would hold on to it for a little bit, and then they said, no, Wardlow's getting his match in Boston next week. And I said, all right, well, that's probably not going to end well for Wardlow, but yeah, we'll probably have the Kingdom get involved, and Roddy will get involved. Something will happen. Swerve will get involved. He'll go after Joe, and Wardlow will be pissed because Swerve just cost him the chance to become AEW World Champion. I was not expecting a clean finish here. So now my question is this. What role does Wardlow even serve in the Undisputed Kingdom? The one job that he had, which was to go win the world title, he's already failed. It's like me when you watch my 2K24 video tomorrow. Objective failed. He's already a failure. He serves no purpose. The only role for him now in the Undisputed Kingdom is to play background to everybody else in the group and basically be a lackey. He already did that in the Pinnacle. That was his role with MJF and FTR. He was the guy that stood there in the background. He was a background player, and that's what he is now again. He's right back to square one. The only thing I can think of, the only way to potentially salvage this man, and even then, I don't really see how this is going to benefit him all that much, would be to have the Undisputed Kingdom kick him out of the group. And when MJF is ready to come back, you have strange bedfellows between MJF and Wardlow who kind of forge this unholy alliance where they don't like each other. But it's the whole, the enemy of my enemy is my friend thing, and they unite together. MJF finds unlikely help in Wardlow to ward off the Undisputed Kingdom. The thing with the Undisputed Kingdom is this group is already a fucking failure. I mean, Roddy winning the international title of Revolution was a necessary step. But this group is cold as a block of ice. And now the big henchman has gone in there and lost. Adam Cole is still being wheeled around every single week. No idea when he's going to be able to get back in the ring. Which means if MJF comes back, it's not like he and Cole are going to be able to get physical, against each other. I mean, this group, and I like Adam Cole, but this group is a fucking failure. Simple as that. So yeah, maybe Wardlow ends up out of the group. Maybe he and MJF can find some common ground together, but even then what? What do you do with him then? It just feels to me like we've hit the end of the road with Wardlow. He has been used and abused in this company. He's been a babyface, he's been a heel. He's been a heel, he's been a babyface. And he's been a TNT champion. So at least he had that. That didn't last very long. In fact, one of those TNT title runs that he had, actually all of them, if we're being honest, every time he held that title, I don't remember a single thing about any of those TNT runs that he had that is memorable in the slightest, other than the fact that he lost. When I look back, what is the peak of Wardlow? The peak of Wardlow is when he was involved in the storyline with MJF and CM Punk. What was that, 2 years ago? And then when he went to Double or Nothing and he hit MJF with 10 power bombs, and it feels like every single power bomb in that match that he hit on MJF, MJF was leaving a hole in the mat. And every power bomb, the hole was getting deeper and deeper. Little did we know that Wardlow was basically digging his own grave. Because ever since then, it's just been all downhill. And if this was their way of trying to revive him and resuscitate Wardlow, they didn't do a very good job of it, now did they? I don't know what else you do with him. I really don't. And he's a talented guy. I hate to see him, in the spot that he's in. But I just don't see there being a very good path for him from this point out. I think this guy is done. Alex Marvez was backstage earlier in the day, and he was looking for comments from the Elite. And so here they come. Here come the Bucks. Here comes Kazuchika Okada. And Nick Jackson, or Nicholas, asks Marvez for a little more respect, because he wanted to know why Okada would align with them, and he wants him to show some more respect. He mentioned Okada's passport is printed with the name The Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, so he should address him as such. Matthew said the definition of elite is 3 of the best wrestlers in the world. He says that he could give about 14 million reasons why Okada joined the elite. Said, right, Okada? And so Okada, he demands that Alex Marvez wish Matt a happy birthday, because apparently it was Matt Jackson's birthday. And so Marvez says, oh, okay, all right, happy birthday. And Okada says, no. Sing it. And so Marvez has to start singing happy birthday, and he sings happy birthday. That takes us into a commercial. He's such a dick. Okada is such a dick. I love it. I love it. I love that they went heel with him. I love that they went heel with him instead of him just coming in and being the bland babyface. It just gives him so much more to work with. And for him to be able to play off the other two. And he doesn't have to say much. Look, the limited stuff he said here in this promo, his English was fine. And the limited stuff that he said was great. He had a brief mention about Eddie and Penta and Pac. But the stuff with Marvez, I thought this was great. I just think it's the right formula. Having him with the Bucks and letting them put him over in the strongest possible terms. And then he says a few words. And then he just goes out there and he's just a total dick to everybody. If you watched that match on Collision last week, the first match with the new Elite, it was a 2-minute match. And Okada was in there with a bunch of, enhancement guys. But, he was in there just showing off. He hit his drop kick, killed a guy with a Rainmaker, didn't even break a sweat. And then here tonight, acting like a dick. It works for him. It's what he did with Kaito Kiyomiya last year. It was perfect. And all of a sudden, everybody was talking about Okada. It was a year ago. Everybody was talking about Okada for the first time in a while. They're like, wow, where's this version of Okada been, right? Well, that's the version we're getting now. So it's perfect. So far, I love it. I think it's great. Now, we had the Elite. It was Okada and the Bucks taking on Eddie Kingston, Penta, and Pac. It's not only good to get Mercedes back on TV, it's good to get Pac back on TV. This was his first match since July. He had that match with Gravity on TV. I don't know what the nature of the injury was, because I remember watching the match, and I couldn't tell where he got hurt, but he got hurt, and he's been out ever since. So it's good to have him back. The Bucks came down the ramp in their robes, and they got to the head of the aisleway, and Matt pulled out a giant gold coin. And he flipped the coin up in the air, and when the coin hit the ground, we heard the coin drop, and they played Okada's music. I like that. That's a nice touch. I hope they stick with that. I thought that was a neat little addition to the entrance there. So then Okada comes out. How about that pop for Okada? I got to give it to the crowd in Boston. Because they were up for all the things on the show that you would hope that they would be up for They were loud and they were up for all the big things on the show, and including Okada, because he came out and he got a huge pop from the crowd. So it was going to be Eddie Kingston and Okada kicking things off. Eddie wanted a piece of this guy because it was Okada when he debuted, or re-debuted, who turned on Eddie and laid him out with a Rainmaker. So Eddie wanted revenge. And it looked like he was going to get it, but then Okada quickly tags out like an asshole and leaves Eddie hanging. So Matthew eats a chop after trying to offer a fist bump to Eddie. Pac tagged in, and we had a quick sequence here with Matthew ending in a snap, Hurricane Rana, tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Nick tagged in. He immediately flattened Penta with a cutter. Penta came back with a corner super kick and a spinning fireman's carry slam for a 2 count. Pac and Penta, they took turns double-teaming the Bucks with super kicks and a top rope double stomp low on Matt. Okada and Kingston, they had another face-off. This time they were firing some chops and firing some forearms at each other. Okada, though, hit his signature drop kick to take control of the match, and they kept Eddie isolated during the break. There was a reference here to Bob Holly by Taz that I thought was perfect. It was actually a great reference by Taz. After Okada hit the super kick, he mentioned Bob Holly by name and said that his drop kick reminded him of Hardcore Holly. And it's true, because when I think of the best drop kicks in wrestling, and there's a lot of people that had great drop kicks. Kurt Hennig had a great drop kick, and even Dolph, even Ziggler has a good drop kick. Randy Orton, of course, right? He's way up there on the list too. Bob Holly doesn't get enough credit for his drop kick, I feel like. He also had like a picture-perfect drop kick, and Okada, obviously, same thing with him. But I thought that was a great reference because it's just not a name that you hear mentioned much these days. But it's true. I thought it was a very apt comparison. So Kingston caught Matt with an exploder suplex. Nick and Okada, though, they pulled the legs out from under Penta and Pac on the apron when Eddie was coming over to try to make a tag. And so they yanked their legs out from under them, and there was nobody there for Eddie when he went for the tag. Nobody on his team. I can't say there was nobody there because Okada got up on the apron. He's now on the apron in the opposing team's corner, and he's like reaching like, tag me. This was perfect. He wants Eddie to tag him into the match. Kingston caught Matthew with an overhead throw. Penta took the hot tag. Okada avoided a backstabber. Pac flew in with a shotgun dropkick before he and Penta hit stereo dives out onto the Bucks. And back inside, Penta delivered another low double stomp off the top. Pac followed with a 450 splash, only for a 2 count. Pac flattened Okada with a snap German, and Kingston tagged in, and he started lighting up Okada with chops. Okada dodged a back fist, countered into a DDT. Pac, though, flew in with an enziguri. Matt comes in. He lays out Pac with a facebuster. Penta, though, connects on a Canadian Destroyer. I mean, this was the wild and crazy sequence of the match here. A lot of back and forth. Matt took the referee for the distraction. Not hard to do because guess who the referee was? It's a Young Bucks match, so you already know who the referee is. Rick Knox. You may as well not even have a referee in the ring. So, of course, the referee is distracted. Nick hits a punt kick low, and Okada connects on a Rainmaker to pin Eddie Kingston. And when the match was over, Okada held up the Continental title before celebrating with the Bucks on the stage. That was fun. I thought this was a fun match. Okada just has a natural charisma about him that lends itself well, I think, to being a heel. I thought that was on display. He looked like he was having fun with it here in this match. And so that's a big part of why this is working so far here in these first 2 weeks. Him pinning Eddie, the obvious direction is him getting a shot at the Continental title. I thought it was going to be a dynasty. Later in the show, they announced the match is happening next week. So on Dynamite in Toronto next Wednesday, Okada is already getting a shot at the Continental Championship. It'll be him and Eddie Kingston one-on-one. There's no reason to think that title is not going to change hands. So I'm expecting a new champion next week. I was expecting a new champion at Dynasty, but if they're doing the match next week, then I think it happens next week. I also want to see more Pac. on my TV. You know, every time this guy comes back, he disappears again. Whether it's a visa issue or an injury, there's always some reason for him to just disappear. And he disappears for months at a time. So it's hard to get invested in anything that he's actually doing. He's great, but you just sort of expect, like, all right, he's back for a few weeks and then he's gone again. So I hope that they could get him involved in some stuff and he could be on television consistently, because him, showing up and then disappearing after a few weeks, that's not going to do him any good, and it's hard to really get invested in anything that he's doing. So hopefully he's back for good this time. Now, Tony Schiavone was in the ring, plugging the I Quit match next week in Toronto on Dynamite. Christian Cage is going to be defending the TNT Championship against Adam Copeland. They had a video package hyping it up. So coming out of the video package, Tony was in the ring and he said a few words about it, but that's not why he was in the ring. He was in the ring to introduce his next guest, Will Ospreay, who came out, got a great reaction from the crowd. They love singing his song. It's a great song. Elevated is a great song. So he comes out. He's wrestling Bryan Danielson for the first time ever at Dynasty next month. Ospreay said that he was asked what he wanted to do this morning, and he said that he wanted to speak to the great people of Boston. Ospreay said his match with Bryan Danielson at Dynasty means so much to him. Danielson is the person whose career he wanted to emulate. He said that he's glad Danielson is a fan of his work, saying that he has seen Ospreay, and saying that he is the best in the world in Japan, and Danielson had told him to prove it in America. Ospreay said the world was talking about his match with Kenny Omega and how he dropped him on his head with the Tiger Driver 91. Yeah, that was scary. Being in that match, he said blood. Wooings. Thank you, Spencer. He said being in that match with blood pouring down his head when it was all over, he said was absolutely worth it. This match with Danielson, though, means a lot more to him, because there's a phrase that's been following him around. Restore the feeling. Ospreay says he is the feeling. And if he hits a Tiger Driver 91 on Bryan Danielson will have no feeling, probably from his neck down. So let's hope that doesn't happen. He said the match will remind people why AEW is the best wrestling in the world. The moment they both step foot in the ring together, it is Danielson's life or Ospreay's, and he has no plans on dying. He says he is Will Ospreay, and he is on another level. He screamed his way through this promo because he was just so hyped up. He just, he spoke with such passion and conviction in his voice, and the crowd was with him for all of it. Again, even though he is still affiliated with the Don Callis family, and there was no Don Callis with him tonight, but he still has the relationship with them. He's still technically part of that crew. Even so, the fans have taken to him as a babyface, and it's like I've been saying. He is already one of the top babyfaces in the company. Before this year is over, whether he's the champion or not, he will be the top babyface in AEW. Reaction he's been getting just in these last few weeks is evidence of that. Did not take very long for these people to take to Will Ospreay. I think we may be looking at Ospreay and Swerve in the main event at Wembley Stadium this year. Deonna Purrazzo was backstage and said that if Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May think this is over between them, they're wrong. If it's a numbers game they want, she has no problem finding a partner for next week. She told them to both watch for the shoe because she's going to be sticking it straight up their ass. There you go. Short and to the point. I like it. With a great closing line, too. That's what people will remember. As far as her partner for next week, I don't know. If Mercedes wants to spread the love and work with all different people, maybe it's Mercedes. You'd think they would announce that, though, so I don't think it's going to be her. They did announce Mercedes will be on the show next week, only that we'll hear from her. They didn't actually say she's going to be doing anything. So I don't think it'll be her, but otherwise, I don't know. I don't know who. You know what, though? I keep mentioning her name. Nobody else is mentioning her name. I keep mentioning her name because I'm waiting for her to come back. Jamie Hayter. I would love it if Jamie Hayter showed up as a surprise next week as the partner for Deonna Purrazzo. I think that would be great. But they are in Canada. They're going to be in Toronto. So they might go with maybe a Canadian in that spot. Get the big hometown reaction, maybe. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We had Darby Allin one-on-one with Switchblade Jay White. Darby is all by himself now. There is no more Sting. His ribs were taped. His back was all bandaged up, including the spot that he got stitched up after the dumb glass spot at Revolution. Only 12 stitches, but I mean, he took a hell of a beating in that match. So every move here, no matter how big or small, I was going to say he was selling the back. Honestly, I don't even know how much in the way of selling he had to do. Because I am sure that he has, these wounds on the back. I'm sure that it didn't feel too good when he was taking a flat back bump or getting whipped into the barricade or in the turnbuckles. I'm sure that didn't feel too good. Then he fought back with a shotgun drop kick and a somersault dive off the top rope to the floor. And then another one. Jay White responded with an underarm suplex through a chair that was sitting outside the ring. Then Jay White, he pulled the ring steps out a little bit, and he launched Darby over the ring steps. And he just took this hellacious bump over the steps, back
Look,
first,
everyone,
right into the
it's
LED
Samoa
barricade.
Bro.
Right into the LED barricade. Right into the back, right into the wounds. So Jay White, he connected with chops to the back of the neck, missed the stinger splash. Darby countered a Blade Runner attempt into the up and over stunner and a sunset flip for 2. Last Supper got Darby a close fall there. And they zoomed in at this point on Darby's chest. And I think some of the bandages may have come off. And you can see his chest just purple. Black and blue and purple. He tried a coffin drop, but White countered into a German suplex.
Ooh, oh,
Uh-oh.
Ooh, oh, ooh, oh.
Oh, it's Vic Joseph. Vic Joseph's getting excited. M. Mills with a $27 Vic Joseph super chat. Thank you, M. Mills. Can always tell when Vic Joseph is getting excited. He loses his mind. Now, those are the noises that come out of him. So White attempted a suplex from the apron back into the ring, but Darby floated over into a Scorpion Death Drop, and Jay White would have been done for had he not been able to get a foot on the bottom rope at the very last second. After this, White knew that Darby wanted another coffin drop, so he suckered him in by crawling to the edge of the ring over by the apron. And when Darby repositioned himself, he went for a coffin drop, and you can pretty much imagine where this was going. He went for a coffin drop on the apron. Jay White moved out of the way. And Darby Allin, it was the same thing that happened to him his very first AEW match against Cody Rhodes. They had that 20-minute time limit draw. He went for a coffin drop to Cody on the apron. Cody moved. And Darby hit the edge of the ring spine first and then rolled off to the floor. Same exact spot here. Spine first, right onto the edge of the ring. He falls onto the floor. You hear about people. I was thinking about this. You hear about people having, people like in AA, they have sponsors. I think Darby needs a sponsor. He needs a sponsor behind the scenes to try to talk him out of doing some of the stupid shit that he does. Because he really is. I mean, he's his own worst enemy here. If he just had a sponsor. But then again, I guess Sting was his sponsor, and apparently didn't make a difference. So I guess he's going to do what he's going to do. And Tony Khan, I guess, he's just powerless to do anything about it. I can't believe he's actually letting him climb Mount Everest. Look, he's his boss. It's going to take him away for 2 months. It's actually taken him away for longer than 2 months because he missed some time a few months ago to go do some of the training. I think he was in China and he went somewhere else. Tony Khan could have said, no, you're not doing this. But he let him do it. He is at least partially complicit in this. So Bryce Remsburg sees Darby after he splats on the ring apron and lands on the floor. Makes no attempt to go outside to check on Darby Allin. Nobody came over, no doctor, nobody came over. They just left him laying. And Bryce decided, I'm going to start my count. I guess he's a stickler for the rules, unlike Rick Knox. Goes, we got a man outside, I'm going to start my count. So he got all the way to 9. And Darby was down up until 9. Once Darby heard the referee mention 9, he immediately got up, he dove into the ring, but he immediately got dropped with a Blade Runner, and Jay White pinned him to win the match. Now, after the match was over, Austin and Colton Gunn, they came down to the ring. They were celebrating with White, who threw down his Ring of Honor 6-man tag team title. I would too. And he offered Darby a handshake, put his hand out. And Darby looked up at him and he started to put his hand up like he was going to accept, but then he turned the handshake into a finger gun. And at that point, Austin and Colton, they pounced on Darby. They wrapped the chair around his ankle. White was about to Pillmanize the ankle with a baseball bat when we heard the Acclaim's theme music. Here comes Anthony Bowens, Max Caster, Billy Gunn. The Acclaimed helped Darby out of the ring. Billy Gunn stayed behind, though. He's had issues with Jay White in the past, even though that they've all been together recently, the whole Bang Bang Scissor Gang stuff. But he gets up in Jay White's face like, what are you doing? You know, he's appalled by this. And Jay White, he's saying, hey, you guys want to join in? You guys can join in. So anyway, Billy doesn't like any of this. Billy turns around to go look at his sons. And then when he turns back around towards Jay White hits him in the head with a steel chair, blasts him in the head with a chair. Billy got the hands up, but he hit him in the head with a chair. Austin and Colton, they laid out Bowens and Caster with belt shots when they got back into the ring after they saw what happened to Billy. White laid out Billy with a Blade Runner. The Guns brought Darby back into the ring. They placed the chair back on his ankle again, and this time White Pillmanized the ankle with the baseball bat. And they left Darby laying to close out the segment. I am all for seeing more Jay White singles matches. Sign me up. Let's get more of them. That's what I want to see. And this match here I thought was really good. Hopefully not the last time we get to see it. This was obviously meant to be Darby's write-off. He's leaving on March 27th to go climb Everest. So he's doing this. And hopefully we'll see him back in a few months. I think they said that if he were to complete it, it would take about 2 months. So the earliest we would probably see him back would be maybe early or mid-June. That's providing everything goes well. So we'll see what happens there. But here's the key takeaway from this segment, though. It's not Darby. Thank God this Bang Bang Scissor Gang bullshit is over, because this stuff has been insufferable. This was a terrible, terrible waste of Jay White for these last few months. And I know some people, they got cheered when they would come out. And he's got a Ring of Honor belt. What does that really mean at this point? Yeah, you got a Ring of Honor belt. You spend most of your time on AEW television. How many Ring of Honor matches has Jay White and the Guns had? I haven't checked recently, like the tapings or anything like that. How many matches have they had as Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champions on Ring of Honor television? Have they had one? There's no purpose in them even having the belts in the first place. So between the useless belt and this useless partnership that we've had here, I'm glad that it's over. We had Lion Hook. They tried to make this a thing tonight. Lionheart Chris Jericho and Hook. Look, everyone, it's Samoa Bro. Even Samoa Bro shook his head in disbelief. Lionheart Chris Jericho and Hook as tag team partners against Toa Leona and Bishop Cone, the Gates of Agony. I didn't see Prince Nana out there with them, even though Dasha said Prince Nana's name when they came out. I didn't see him there, unless he was hiding behind them. I don't think he was actually out there at ringside with them. We got a quick series of suplexes from Jericho and Hook in the early going. There's actually a really funny moment here, right at the beginning of the match. So they do this double suplex. It might have been to Cone. I don't remember who it was. And then Jericho and Hook, they walk back towards their corner. And Hook climbs through the ropes, and I guess Jericho went to go tag himself in to make himself official. Hook had his back turned, so he didn't see Jericho. When he steps out onto the apron, I think Jericho just assumed that Hook was going to be standing there and he would just tag. Hook just jumps down from the apron. So as Jericho reaches for this tag, Hook isn't there because he jumped down from the apron. It was completely oblivious to this. And Jericho was just like, well, whatever. And he just worked the match anyway. So Leona missed a corner splash. Jericho was sent over the top. He got sent crashing into the side of the announce desk. Jericho got worked over during the commercial, and then he connected on a lion salt when things came back live. Hook got a hot tag, ran wild with a series of T-bone suplexes until Leona broke up a German attempt, only to be low-bridged out to the floor. Jericho flew in off the top with a sledgehammer, and then not an actual sledgehammer. See, that would have been a disqualification, unless Rick Knox was the referee, and then it would not have been. But he came off with a sledge. Hook connected on his German suplex on Leona, with a, which was very impressive, seeing him pull that off. Cone laid out Hook with a fireman's carry gutbuster. Hook answered with Red Rum, and Leona was dispatched by Jericho, who sank in a lion tamer on Cone, so we had a double submission going here for a few seconds, because Hook still had Red Rum applied. So now Jericho has the lion tamer on, or the walls, is more so what it was. There are some people who still don't understand that they are two different moves. They think it's one and the same. The lion tamer and the walls are actually quite different in how they're applied. For the people who think they're one and the same, they're actually not. So Jericho, though, he let the move go when he saw Leona getting back up on the apron, and so he hit him with a springboard drop kick as Cone passed out in Red Rum. The match was average. It was fine. There was nothing terribly wrong with it, though. But you could tell this is what brought the energy level down for the first time all night, was this match. This was the match where people who were probably holding it in during the show probably said, you know what, I'm going to go, take a leak before the main event. That's what it sounded like to me. And certainly some of you in the chat had that same mindset too. I'll be back. I got to go take care of business so I can be back in time for the main event. The thing with Jericho using the Lionheart stuff, it's fine to dust it off every now and then. We've seen him play Lionheart a couple of times before, or maybe more than a couple of times. It feels like he's just back to doing Lionheart now. And it's kind of the law of diminishing returns. Whatever it meant as far as nostalgia for the people who remember him as Lionheart, it's going to mean less and less every time he comes out like that. The thing with Jericho is he's just cold right now. There's really just no spot for him. So they've stuck him with Hook. The one positive is it's something for Hook to do. I would hope that they could find something better for him to do, but at least it gives him a role to keep him on TV, so that's a plus. But do I really have this great interest in seeing Jericho and Hook working together? I don't. But Jericho's a vet, and if they feel like Hook working with a vet like Jericho is going to do him some good, then, I can tolerate it, but I can't say that it's anything that gets me terribly excited. Backstage when the match was over, Jericho said that as great as it was to stand next to Hook on the same team, he needs to know what it feels like to stand in the ring across from him. And he challenged him to a match in Toronto next week, which Hook accepted. There was no mention of it being for the FTW title, but they are wrestling on Dynamite next Wednesday. So it gives Jericho a match in Canada. The reaction will be very interesting, considering that Hook is a fan favorite. So does Jericho get a bigger reaction being in Canada? Does Hook get booed? I don't know. We'll see. Even though Jericho is not from Toronto. He's from Winnipeg. Renee was backstage with Kyle O'Reilly, who said the past 2 years were some of the darkest days of his life. He was even unable to pick up his own daughter. Right now, AEW, he says, has the most competitive roster in the sport, and he is looking at a roster, a certain person on the roster who can bring out the best in Kyle O'Reilly, and that man is the bounty hunter, Bryan Keith. Bryan Keith has been putting in some work on AEW television recently, on Collision, on like all these different shows, and what I've been able to catch of it, he's very good. We had him in House of Glory last year. He had a great match. The one time we brought him in, and that was really the first time that I became exposed to his work. Once I knew we were bringing him in, I was able to find some of his matches on YouTube and watch some of his work, and then I got to see it up close and personal, and I said, okay, this guy has some definite potential. And to see him doing well in AEW is actually very cool. He's been getting very high marks, apparently, from the people there. They're very impressed with him. They gave him a deal, so he is officially All Elite. And it's very cool to see him in the mix and doing stuff. And I'm sure that match with O'Reilly is going to be fucking great on Saturday. So then he was interrupted by Roderick Strong, who screamed into the camera shot, Kyle! Told O'Reilly that if he wants to do things on his own, he respects that. And Strong, Taven, and Bennett were all there. They told him welcome back. They all fist bumped him as they walked off. That left Kyle alone with Renee. And Kyle, at that point, he came to the realization, he said, never had to do things on my own. And it hit him because he's always been part of a tag team. He's been part of a faction, Red Dragon, Undisputed Era, and what was the name of the group when he came in here? I already forgot what it was. Undisputed Elite. Right? All these undisputed. Now we have the Undisputed Kingdom. It's confusing. But he's always been part of a crew. He's always had at least one partner at his side. Now he's all by himself. And he came to the realization that he's going to have to do it on his own. I have to think that this is eventually going to lead to an international title match once he gets some wins under his belt. I have to think the longer term plan here is for him and Roddy. I don't know if they would do it in Vegas, maybe at Double or Nothing, but that seems to me the logical step as far as the two of them facing off for that title at some point. Riho was shown warming up backstage when Mercedes walked up to her and said that she was excited about her match tonight and she wished her good luck. And that led into the main event. And the main event had a 20-minute time limit with 10 minutes left in the show. So they did go overtime, so we didn't get a 20-minute match, but we did go past the top of the hour. It was Willow Nightingale one-on-one with Riho. The Riho regime will be very happy to know that Riho got the main event spot on Dynamite tonight. And the people that don't like Riho, well, I guess they won't be very happy now, will they? I guess not. So Willow was showing off her power early on with a shoulder tackle. Riho bridged out, though, of a low crossbody. Showed off her speed, hit some running knee strikes in the corner. Willow avoided a third one, though, hit a shotgun dropkick that launched Riho clear across the ring. And it knocked us clear into the commercial break. Picture in picture. When things came back, Riho hit a tiger feint kick and a top rope crossbody for 2. She tried a Northern Lights suplex. Willow countered into a Dr. Bomb attempt, but Riho was able to turn that into a Hurricane Rana for a near fall. Riho finally connected on a Northern Lights, and it looked like Willow got dropped right on her fucking head. Her head or her forehead. She seemed to be fine, but it was scary there. It looked like that could have gone very badly. Riho went to the top again, missed a double stomp, and Willow pounced her out of the ring. So Willow tried to follow that with a cannonball off the apron, but she missed, and she went splat on the ground outside. Riho, though, hit a double stomp instead off the apron. I'm not sure how much of it she got. Both women went to the apron. Riho connected with a dragon suplex on the apron and then a top rope double stomp off the top, back inside. Riho, after that, missed a charging knee strike. Willow got to her feet, threw a hard lariat that took her down. She lowered the straps. Riho tried a jackknife pin. Willow rolled through into a Dr. Bomb, and Willow picked up the win.
By the power of Valhalla, it's vintage coal tar.
Oh my goodness. It is vintage coal tar. Is that our first coal tar? I believe it is. That is the new $51 coal tar. Because Gunther needed a friend. Gunther was very lonely. And so I wanted to get him a friend. And there you saw reindeer coal with his antlers. So God of Seduction, thank you very much for breaking in the new $51 super chat. There he is. There he is. Huge pot for coal tar. Huge pot for Willow, too, getting the win here over Riho. After the match was over, Willow went over to go check on Riho like a good sport. And the announcers were talking about how Willow wants the TBS title. Now, she said that last week. She said that she was going to go to Dynamite this week because Riho got a shock win over Chris Statlander last week. And so Willow had said that she was going to come to big business, get a win, and then go after the TBS title in Julia Hart. So when the lights went out, I don't know why the announcers were so surprised, because they literally were just talking about the fact that Willow is going to want to challenge Julia Hart for the TBS title. And when we see Julia Hart and we see the House of Black, what always happens? The lights go out. Apparently the announcers, they couldn't put two and two together. You got to make them look stupid. When the lights came back on, guess who was at ringside? Julia Hart. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. She was standing right there, though, at ringside. That was the distraction. Sky Blue comes up in the ring from behind Willow and chop blocks her. Both of them beat down Willow until Mercedes Mone walks out in her gear. She had time to change into her gear. Evidently, she thought that shit might go down here, so she made sure she got into her gear. She leveled Sky Blue with a forearm on the ramp as she was walking to the ring. Monet and Julia had a face-off in the ring until Julia ate a high kick, and then Mercedes hit her Monet Maker, which is her finish that she was using last year. It's the Gory Bomb. I think it's supposed to be a Gory Bomb basically into a DDT. She spins the person off her back. It was less of a DDT and more of a facebuster, but she hit her finish, laid out the TBS champion, and Willow got to her feet. I think she raised Mercedes' arm, and she gave Mercedes the ring to close out the show to loud chants of CEO, ringing out throughout the TD Garden, and that is how the segment came to an end. It actually went off the air around 10:07 with Mercedes dancing around ringside outside. Like I said, just a different energy to the show tonight. You know, when you had Mercedes and Okada and Ospreay almost, I mean, they had the world title match in between, but you almost had them back to back to back. Pretty much dominated the entire first hour. That first hour flew by. Like, I looked at the clock, it was already 10 after 9. So, yeah, that's great that they were able to fill the time. And, like I said, 9,000 people. I think they had about 9K, a little over that in the building. They always do well on walk-up, especially for these big shows, like the day of. They always end up moving a lot of tickets on that last day. Because a few days ago, they still had 7,000 and change. And supposedly they had somewhere in the range of, I think, 9,300 tonight in the building, which is a very healthy crowd for Dynamite. I don't know what sections were open and not. I don't know what they were allotted for. It was probably not much more than that, though. And they were loud. And not just for Mercedes, of course, with the Boston connection. They were loud for the Elite, more so Okada than the Bucks. Swerve, when he came out briefly. Ospreay, they were mad for him when he came out. And even in the main event here, you know, these ladies, they got a great response from the crowd. The crowd was into the match. It was hard-hitting. I thought they had a very good main event. And Willow now puts herself in position to be in contention for a TBS title match. Very interesting, if you'll note, that it was Mercedes who came out at the end of the show to assist Willow and not Chris Statlander, who I believe did come out on stage with her at the beginning, but she did not come out to help Willow. It was Mercedes who came out instead. And it was also Statlander who lost to Riho last week. Willow won. And so you got to think this is going to play into maybe a potential heel turn coming up soon for Chris Statlander. Of the two, it would make more sense for Statlander to go heel. Willow is a heel, not that she can't do it, but, just her personality and the personality of her character, it just lends itself better, I think, to her being a babyface. So that's something to keep an eye on as far as Statlander is concerned. Mercedes, though, laying out the TBS champion. So now we have two people who have indicated a desire to go after Julia Hart. Mercedes laid her out tonight. Willow beat Riho. She's already said she wants a shot at the TBS title. Statlander is kind of the wild card here. Is she or isn't she going to go heel? I can envision a Dynasty card that has Willow challenging Julia Hart for the TBS title and winning. And Statlander, whether she's heel or not, Statlander going one-on-one with Mercedes. That's a match. That's one of those matches that I was hoping we would get to see if Mercedes came into the company, is Statlander against Mercedes. And I think you could do that match. And I think once Willow wins the TBS title, it may be a short run. She may end up being a transitional champion and ultimately drop the belt not long after to Mercedes. That may be the sequence of how this goes. It may go from Julia to Willow to Mercedes. I could see that being the play here. But I said a month or two ago, I told you, I said, when we were talking about who would make for a great first opponent or a great first program for Mercedes, Willow was, for me, the obvious choice because you have unfinished business between the two of them going back to last year. The match where Mercedes got hurt and broke her ankle came against Willow. And Willow ended up going on to win the New Japan Strong Women's title that was supposed to go to Mercedes. So you have that story there of, I didn't beat you, but you took away. Now, again, she's not going to do this because she's not a heel, but she could say, I lost almost a year of my career stepping into the ring with you. You and I have unfinished business. We need to settle this once and for all. Like, there's just a very obvious story there to do between the two of them. Could end up being for the TBS title. Overall, though, you look at this show here, you had the Elite, you had Ospreay and Danielson, with Ospreay out there talking about the upcoming match at Dynasty. We had the end of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Thank God. We had the death of Wardlow. May he rest in peace. The women headlined Dynamite tonight, and it was sandwiched by Mercedes. The beginning and the end. Story of the night, she is officially All Elite. A very eventful show, a fun show, a very good show overall. Excellent stuff. I enjoyed it. And next week's show, you look ahead to Dynamite in Toronto next week. Take a look at this. We have Christian Cage defending the TNT title in an I Quit match in Toronto against Edge, against Adam Copeland. Old habits die hard. We have Eddie Kingston defending the Continental Crown against Kazuchika Okada. They are wasting no time in putting Okada in a championship match. Okada is going to be in for all of 2 weeks. You can't beat Okada. Now, you could have some sort of a non-finish where other people get involved, and then you can always run it back. I wouldn't even do that, honestly. If it's me, I think next week we may be getting a double title change. We may be getting a new TNT champion and a new Continental champion, both on the same night. Hook is going to take on Chris Jericho, and they said that we are going to hear from Mercedes. What she may be doing, we don't know, but we'll hear from her. Also, Rampage is airing live next week at 10 p.m. after Dynamite. It's being bumped from its usual Friday slot because of March Madness. So it's technically a 3-hour block next Wednesday of AEW. I am still planning on going live at my normal time, right around 10:30-ish. But if they should shift some of these matches to the third hour and do it on Rampage, which, honestly, if I were Tony Khan, that would be the smart thing to do, then maybe we'll bump it back to 11 o'clock. We'll see. Or 11:15. But right now, we'll be on live at our normal time next Friday. Here's the Twitter poll. What did you think of Big Business? 62% give this show 4 stars. 18% 3 stars. 6.6% 2 stars. And almost 13% gave this show 1 star. 1 star, huh? That's rough. Yeah, I wonder who gave it 1 star. I wonder. All the people who were very upset that Mercedes went to AEW. Didn't go back to WWE. And I see here that this list over here. Here we go. I thought it did an update. All right, here we go. All right, well, we got some super chats here that came in earlier. Let me go through those first. Those are not on this list, but I don't want to miss anybody here. I want to make sure that I shout out our boy Steve Joseph. Steve, what's going on, man? Steve dropped a $2 super chat and wants to know, when do we see Jack Perry back in AEW? I don't think we see Jack Perry back in AEW TV for a while. You know, he's doing his thing over there in New Japan. He just joined the House of Torture. So he's hanging out with those guys. He might be at Forbidden Door. But as far as him being back on AEW television full-time, I think he's going to be over there for a while. I don't think we're going to see him for many more months. Jazz with the super chat. The bar for what people consider household wrestlers is very low. To me, only Hogan, Austin, Rock, and Cena make it there. Even Flair, Macho, and Taker are not there. Yeah, the bar, it's a pretty high bar to me. You know, with me, to consider you a household name. And the ones that you mentioned there, I mean, Hogan, Austin, Rock, Cena, absolutely. Batista, I would throw him on there too. Less so than those guys, but I would throw him on there. But no, you're right. I mean, there are other names that people, I think of as these big wrestling names, or in certain parts of the world, they may be considered a household name, but they're not in this country. Base Beer says, Mone was my Peacock avatar. Every time I sign in now, I feel her absence. Bobby's World, thank you for the $20, Bobby. Says, so, did a survey based on Undertaker and Rey Mysterio being household names. Of these supposed non-wrestling fans that answered, 2 were wrestling fans, 4 heard about them from me, and 4 were related to wrestling fans. So, inconclusive. Yes, that is what you call a non-scientific poll. That's what that is. And Bobby's World also says, by the way, your little rant on Blue Dot Christian and Vince's blurred face popped me big time. I salute you, sir. I'm saying it's very poetic. It's very poetic that we now live in a world where the man that was going to have a blue dot over his face is on live television every single week, and the man who wanted to put the blue dot over his face is being blurred out in video games. There's a certain type of justice in that. Orhan, how highly do you rate Randy Orton? Is he an all-time great? I would consider him one of the greats. I don't put him at the top of my list as far as like the top 3, top 5, probably not top 10. He might be on people's top 10 though, but I would consider him an all-time great. Absolutely. Linklex. So is Sky Blue actually in the House of Black or not? I have no idea. I don't think so, but I don't know. All right, now let's pick up with these over here. Oz and Glorious. Oz and Glorious dropped a $40 super chat on me earlier and said in his Roddy voice, yes, I haven't been this hyped for AEW in years. Ospreay's promo was tremendous. I've also never seen Mercedes on TV before. She has an incredible aura and presentation. Tony Khan ain't messing around. No, he is not. Not this month, he's not. He's stacking these shows in March, is what he's doing. But Oz, thank you for the 40. Very much appreciated. And I will keep you posted on when I get my package. Nothing yet, but I'll keep you posted. Thank you, Dom. Dom Joseph, WWE wants Brock back. Will he get you sick fuck chance? Well, again, I don't know if that's true or not. There's conflicting reports about that. I haven't seen that reported anywhere reputable, so time will tell. I do expect Brock is going to be back at some point. Do they want him back right now? I don't know if that's true or not. Just because even if they've added him back to the roster page on the website, that doesn't mean they want him back on TV anytime soon. The average grunt. Do you think the Acclaimed and Bullet Club Gold feud is leading towards a 6-man tag team title unification? Like what WWE did with the women's tag team titles? I hope so. There's no purpose to it. There's no purpose in having Ring of Honor 6-man belts on AEW television. So, honestly, there's no point in having them at all. I would unify them and have the trios titles held by Bullet Club Gold. That's exactly what they should do. This journey called life. I know you like Banks, but her pop is going to fizzle. Well, that's a great attitude to have. Well, we'll see, won't we? I guess we'll find out. Do I expect her to go out there and get those reactions every week, 6 months from now? No. Nobody gets react. Everyone's reaction is going to fizzle out a little bit. Some fizzle out more than others, right? LA Knight comes out, he still gets a reaction. His reactions have fizzled from what they were 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Does it mean that LA Knight is not over? No, he's still fucking over. But yes, his reactions have died down. They're not quite what they were a few months ago. You know, I mean, and part of it also is, as far as how they book her, do we see her on television every week? Because we really don't need to see her on TV every week. So do they protect her in a way that makes her special when she is on the show? Because then her reactions may be more special just based on the fact that we don't get to see her every week. You see somebody on the show every single Wednesday, or every Wednesday and Saturday, you know, eventually you kind of get tired a little bit. And it's like, oh, okay, well, it's like old hat. You know, you see them every week. It's not as special anymore. Are they going to book her like that or not? You know, if it were me, I wouldn't have her on the show every week. I wouldn't book her like Brock Lesnar and have her on the show once every 3 months either. But I wouldn't have her on the show every week. I don't think that's necessary. Domination Warrior, is this AEW's most stacked roster since 2021? Well, considering the fact that they have not released very many people, it's still, I mean, it's more or less the same roster, and they've only added names since. So yes, I would say that this is the most stacked roster this company has ever had. Magician Sapphire, it was a mistake to set up Wardlow to go for the world title. It feels like Tony Khan burned Wardlow's shot because he doesn't know what to do with the Undisputed Kingdom and just stalling until MJF comes back. You know, that's what it feels like to me too. I don't understand why they had to burn through that title match so quickly. I just think he wanted to do a big match on this show because it was a big episode of Dynamite. And I think part of the problem also is what you said. I think that they're sort of in a holding mode right now until MJF is either back or they know he's ready to come back. I don't see a path for Wardlow. I just don't. They could try to tell some kind of a story that ends up turning him babyface again, but what does it matter? If he goes babyface again, so what? So what? Who cares? He had a world title match. He lost. Fair and square. So if he's not going after the world title, then what is he doing? He went on that impassioned rant a couple of weeks ago on TV. And then he went in there and he fucking lost. So whether he's a healer or babyface, we've already seen him win the TNT title. I have no interest in seeing him hold that title again. He's not getting another world title match anytime soon. So what else is he going to do? Is he going to go after the FTW title? Continental title? Going to wrestle Okada or Eddie Kingston? What's he going to do? I mean, maybe he goes after Roddy in the international title. If they kick him out of the group, it would make sense for him to go after Roddy and try to take the belt away from him. But I don't see a path forward for this man. I just don't see it. I think the best thing for Wardlow, in all honesty, would be to leave. And I've said for a while that I don't know contracts, end dates, anything like that. Ricky Starks has a lot of people talking. Apparently he's not, going anywhere for a while. He's signed. I think Ricky, when his time comes, is going to leave. I do feel that way. Wardlow is another one, where when his deal is up, he's going to have a decision to make. Because he could go to WWE, and I feel like in WWE, he would excel. I feel like they would look at someone like him and they would know what to do with him. They would give him every opportunity to succeed. He'd have new people to work with. It would be a fresh start for him. It's like a baseball player that just plays for one team for so long, and then they get traded to another team. And sometimes that change in scenery is all that they need. Right? They play in a new city. They play on a new team. They have a new coach with a different playbook. Sometimes that's the missing ingredient. I think that's what's going to end up happening with Wardlow. I think that's probably the best thing for him, in all honesty. Because in AEW, I don't know what the fuck you do with this guy. I really don't. Spencer says, Sal O the Monster returns in 2K24. You love to see it. That's right. It's going up tomorrow. Episode 1 of Sound Off Gamer. Good old Sal is back. Lady Fire Panda, thank you for the $21. Says, Jimmy Uso has been working there. Jay, the entire time. Jimmy was saying yeet like Jay and only stopped because Roman hated it. And if you listen to Jimmy's theme, it talks about him not needing family and standing against them. Everything with Jay and Jimmy has been a work, and I guarantee it, Mania. Jimmy costs Rock and Roman the tag match and takes out Solo and Paul, leaving Roman all by himself for night 2, where they help Cody beat Roman. So you think the entire thing with Jimmy and Jay has been a work. So you think that Jimmy costing Jay the undisputed title at SummerSlam and then costing him potentially the Intercontinental title against Gunther was all part of an elaborate plan? Really? You want to put some money on that? Because I don't. I could see him finally having his coming to Jesus moment and turning against Roman in the bloodline, but no, I don't believe it's been some kind of grand conspiracy this entire time. M. Mills, thank you again for the $27 super chat. Gonna have to get that tinfoil hat for Lady Firepain. But it looks good on her, though. She can make that tinfoil hat work. It works for her, though. The Fire Panda, thank you for the super chats, though. I just don't think that's what's going on here. Bender McSimpson, I feel like the expectations on Dynamite are too high. If the show isn't perfect or full of debuts, then people hate on the show. I don't know what people you're talking about. Don't pay attention to those people. Chances are those people haven't even watched the show. Unfortunately, there's a lot of tribalism that goes on. And when I say it's probably people that don't watch the show, there are people that can watch Dynamite and not like the show. But I do see a lot of blind hatred for Raw, and I see a lot of blind hatred for Dynamite. Every single week. On Twitter, maybe. And I feel like it's from people who have chosen one side over the other, and they say, fed bad, and anything that they do on WWE is garbage. And then on the flip side of that, you have the AEW people who hate AEW, who will never ever say anything positive about any episode of Dynamite ever. And so it's kind of one extreme over the other. I just tune those people out. Those people, they don't have any credibility. Probably don't even watch the shows. I wouldn't take anything they say seriously. Bender says, one step closer to Thunder Rosa and Mercedes in a match. I mean, pick your poison. It could be Mercedes against anybody on that women's roster. You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see Mercedes and Athena. Except for the fact that Athena is still being held hostage on Ring of Honor. Mercedes ain't going to Ring of Honor, so Athena's going to have to come to Dynamite. But Tony Khan won't allow her to come to Dynamite, so unfortunately, it's probably going to be a while before we see that match. Base Beerus again with the $51 coal tar super chat says, the Antlers. Is Darby video recording his climb? Where is Tony Storm? Also, if you were to recast the Breakfast Club with wrestlers, who would you cast? Anybody from any promotion or time period? The Breakfast Club? Oh, I don't know. I'd throw Mr. Perfect in there. Yeah. Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect. I feel like Macho Man would be pretty funny. It's part of the Breakfast Club crew. Throw him in there too. I don't know on the other ones. Tony Storm, we got a video package. We got the Deonna Purrazzo promo, but again, there's nothing wrong with her not being on the show tonight. Yeah, she's the champion. Why does she have to be on the show every single week? I think it's fine for her not to be on the show for 1 week. Darby, I would have to think that Darby is recording his climb. I mean, why wouldn't he? I don't see why he wouldn't. Isaac, how cool would it be to see the Sphere in Las Vegas host a WWE or AEW show in the near future? The Sphere hosting a show would cost a lot of money. Do they want to pay? That's the question. Do they want to pay the money it would take to broadcast from the Sphere? I think as like a one-time special thing, it would be very cool. I feel like, though, it would be very distracting. If you were to do like a pay-per-view, like a 3-hour or 4-hour show. But to do like a 2-hour TV show, I could see that. I could see that working. Barry MK400, what did you think of 2K24 having Roman just give up the title in my rise after beating Cody for years? I thought it was kind of funny. I said the same thing in the video. I said, boy, what a shitty way for such a long run to come to an end where Roman just gives up the title. Apparently Roman, he's going off to Hollywood. He's pursuing other interests. Bobby Means, the purpose of Mercedes' promo was to explain how she was going to elevate the women's division, not talk about accomplishments. Tony Khan already ruined her. Already ruined her. Did you honestly think that this woman, who has been off television for 2 years, in Boston, was not going to go out there and talk about the fact that she had all these great accomplishments in her career and thank the fans for it? That was the whole point. The whole point wasn't just to put herself over. That was only a small part of it. Because you want her to go out there and remind people that she's a former champion and she did all these special things, right? This is why she's a big deal. So she reminds people of her accomplishments, and in the same promo, she can talk about being excited to want to get in the ring with all the women on the women's roster, right? You can do more than one thing in this promo. I thought that she kind of weaved in between those things well. She brought up and hit the key points that she needed to. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I didn't see anything wrong with her mentioning her accomplishments. It's not like she dwelled on it. I mean, we got the obligatory Eddie Guerrero reference. She mentioned Chaotic Wrestling, which is in Massachusetts, which is where she trained. For her, again, it was a special night. I expected there to be some of that in the promo. I don't think it detracted from the promo. I still felt like by the time that promo was over, she had made it very clear that the women's division was going to be elevated to a different place than it was before, because now she's here, right? This woman who had all of these accomplishments coming in is now here to help elevate this division. I would pump the brakes on saying Tony Khan ruined her. I think that's being a little extravagant there. Shaquille Oatmeal just got back from the show. Amazing environment. Takeshita against Commander was match of the night. Could you see let's rewind. Can you see a Forbidden Door held at the Tokyo Dome next year? What would the time zone difference be on that? I don't know. I mean, there could be logistical reasons for why they couldn't do it, but is it possible? Could I see there being the potential for a Forbidden Door show at the Tokyo Dome? Yeah, I could. I could see it. You know, one of the things Mercedes talked about in her promo tonight was going global. You know, now we can go take this global. And I thought that was a little peculiar. I thought that that line was in there for a reason. I don't know that that's what she's referring to. I could see it. I wonder if there might be logistical reasons that might work against them doing that. Zachariah says the Jimmy V. I thought you were talking about Jimmy Valiant. The Jimmy versus Jay match needs to be a yeet, no yeet match. Also, me nitpicking, but Mercedes' entrance theme is trash, but that seems to be every entrance theme nowadays. I'll tell you what, I had warmed up to her other theme that she was using last year when she came into like New Japan and Stardom. I had warmed up to that song and thought that she was coming in using that one. I didn't know she was going to get a totally new theme song. I'm kind of indifferent towards it. I could see it getting annoying with the CEO stuff, but it's 1 week. Let's see how it plays in the weeks to come. It's no elevated, I'll tell you that much. Osprey's got her beat. Chris Manson, Mercedes is going to be making her story with all these fresh faces to wrestle. Did you mean history or did you mean her story? Because it says her story, but I don't know what that means. I think he meant history. Jamie Hayter for Wembley, please. Yes. Let's get Jamie Hayter back. All right, Mystic J, 44. With Osprey, Okada, and now Mercedes going to AEW, there's been an argument going on among fans stating that WWE does not really need any new signings. In your opinion, would you find this to be true? That they don't need them? I mean, they're doing very well with the roster they have right now, but you always want to cycle new talent in. The thing that WWE has that AEW does not, they have a developmental system. So you have people down at NXT who they could pluck out and put on Raw, put on SmackDown at any given moment. They could pull from within their own ranks. So you can get an Ilya Dragunov on the main roster, right? They just called up Braun Breaker. They just called up Tiffany Stratton. Eventually they're going to call up a Roxanne Perez, and they're going to call up some of these other people that they have down there. That will suffice for a while, but no, you have to sign talent and bring new talent in over time. Like, how long are they going to go without signing new talent? They're doing fine now. At some point, they're going to have to bring some names in. And believe me, WWE wanted Will Ospreay. Triple H wanted Okada. They chose to go somewhere else. If Triple H would have gotten his way, they'd be on Raw and SmackDown right now. Or NXT. They just lost out on the sweepstakes, right? I mean, they got better deals for Tony Khan. Tony Khan was able to give them the flexibility and the money and the perks that they were looking for. Ospreay, doesn't have to move to the U.S. Okada, I don't know if he's moving. I heard he's moving to the U.S. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But obviously, they got the deals that they were looking for. And it's not because there was no interest on WWE's part in bringing them in. WWE lost. They lost out. Not that there was no interest there. There was definite interest there. They just lost out. Oz and Glorious, don't tune me out, but I decided fed bad when the sex trafficker's son showed up on WCW Nitro. I still enjoy your Fed streams, though. Hashtag normalize tribalism. Well, I could see people tuning out from the Fed, given some of the things that have been reported about them. Jazz says, Jericho now feels like that old uncle, the one that drinks and latches onto you so that he can hit on younger women. Speaking from experience, are we? Also, enough with the Lionheart, bro. Yeah, it kind of feels like midlife crisis Jericho. Except he's kind of past the midlife at this point. Derek, thank you for the 5. Derek Hastings. And Darth Panic says, do you think there will be another inductee to the Hall of Fame this year? Or is Thunderbolt Patterson the last one? It feels like they are missing a big name. Well, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I will. One name that I know is going in, and I talked about this actually on Sunday on the podcast, and it's not announced yet. It probably will be announced this week. It sounds like The Rock's grandmother, Leah Maivia, who promoted wrestling for a number of years after her father, her father, her husband passed away, the High Chief, Peter Maivia. She took over the territory and promoted for a number of years. I don't know if they'll mention her extortion trial when she gets inducted, but it sounds like she's going into the Hall of Fame this year. And I said, we will know if The Rock has any influence over the Hall of Fame if his grandmother happens to go in the same year that The Rock becomes a member of the board of directors. And it sounds like she is going into the Hall of Fame. The only other name that has been rumored, and it's not confirmed, and I don't know 100% if it's happening, I think it is. I think they're saving it for last, would be Bray Wyatt. But I don't have that 100% confirmed. And that looks like it's going to be it. Those are probably going to be the final two. Thank you, Darth, for the 5. Much appreciated. The goal tonight for Be the Booker was 450. We are currently sitting at 517. So give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you very much. Your likes do help the video. Pushes it out to the recommendeds here on YouTube so other people will watch and will join us here on the channel. So keep hitting that thumbs up. And right now I am going to hit the button for Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
It is that time. It is time to book ourselves 3 matches, totally at random. Little segment we do here on the streams called Be the Booker. And you will see many faces, as you see rotating here in this animation. And completely at random, I'm going to book a tag team match. And we're going to see how well I can do randomly booking as compared to the booking that we see on TV. Can I do a better job booking random matches than the actual promoters themselves? Let's find out. We begin with the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. You know, the Rockers came into the territory over there where the Rock's grandmother promoted. Funny enough, I just mentioned Leah Maivia, and that is the reason for many years why The Rock did not want to work with Shawn Michaels and actually had no love lost for Shawn Michaels. Evidently, Shawn Michaels was a dick in some form or fashion to The Rock's grandmother when he came into the territory there. So I don't know if that'll come up during the Hall of Fame speech for her, but interesting little tie-in there. One of the reasons why we never got Rock and HBK. Okay, the Rockers are going to be taking on... What the fuck? Oh. You know, those shoulder pads blend into the background in that image. This is... Now, what did they call them? Did they just call themselves the New Road Warriors? Is that what they called themselves? Totally forgot that they were tag team champions on SmackDown. Road Warrior Animal and Heidenreich. The only thing I ever associate with Heidenreich is that awful segment with Michael Cole. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, consider yourself lucky. I completely forgot that this even existed. And I put the graphic in here. And I still forgot that this existed. Are you sure they called them the Legion of Doom? I thought they came up with some kind of name for them. I thought it was like the new LOD or something. I know there was LOD, there was LOD 2000, and then what were these guys? I don't know. Apparently it didn't make much of an impression on me anyway, since I can't remember, but yeah, that's a fail, is what that is. All right, women's Be the Booker. You know, Mercedes is in here. Maybe we'll land on Mercedes Mone. Wouldn't that be appropriate? All right, we begin with Julia Hart, the TBS champion who we saw at the end of the show tonight, laid out by Mercedes. Now we need to land on either Mercedes or Willow. That would be wild. All right, here we go. TBS title match coming up right here. Julia Hart, one-on-one with who? Who we booking? Julia Hart and Nikki Bella. Can't say that's a match I would want to book. Can't do it. Especially with a bad neck. She's got a bad neck. I saw a picture of her the other day. Apparently her neck was acting up again. She was in some kind of neck brace. Hopefully she's okay, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, we're going for the opposite of whatever a hat trick is. We're going for a reverse hat trick here. This is not good. Nikki is the better sister. In the ring, yes, she is. But that's still not a match that I can give the bell to. I'm sorry. All right. Redeem us, please. Men's be the booker. Redeem us. Okay. All right. We have the Undertaker. I see the purple gloves, which means we're probably looking at 1994. Maybe 95. 1994 Undertaker is what we're looking at here. Who will 1994 Undertaker be stepping into the ring with? Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega and The Undertaker. Wow. 1994 Undertaker against Kenny Omega. Wow. I would have loved to see how that match goes. Undertaker in his later years would have made for a better opponent for Omega. But I still feel like that would have been a hell of a match. Yeah, that is a great match. That is a great match. He can bump around for Undertaker like Shawn Michaels did. No flippy shit, that's right. 1994 Undertaker is not going to tolerate any of that flippy dippy stuff. Well, at least we got one, right? At least it wasn't a total loss. Kenny eating potatoes. Base Beerus says, Lionheart was a throwback in 2005. You know what? You were absolutely right. Lionheart Chris Jericho, when he came out at One Night Stand in 2005, that was considered a throwback. It's almost 20 years after the first One Night Stand. We are past the point of throwback at this point. I don't know what you would call it. I call it sad, is what I call it. What does a throwback become 20 years after the fact? That's a great point. Friday night is SmackDown. The Rock is once again going to be on SmackDown. SmackDown is in Memphis, which The Rock called home for a while in his younger years. There was talk. I saw WrestleVotes last week had a tweet up about the possibility of there being a Rock concert. I haven't heard anything or seen anything mentioned about that, but who knows? Maybe we'll get a Rock concert on Friday. But that'll be another big episode of SmackDown, as it usually is when Rock is on the show, because we don't know how many more SmackDowns Rock is going to be on. We could get to WrestleMania, and that could be the end of The Rock. We already know The Rock is not going to be around anyway, from about May through, I think, August. So the report today, he's going to be filming a movie. So I don't know if he's going to be around after WrestleMania or not. But I would suggest if you enjoy The Rock, enjoy him while you have him. Because we don't know how much longer he will be on TV for. All right, let's make sure that we got everybody. Let's make sure. Now we got a few more here. We got a few more that came in early. Again, I don't know why the system is all fucked up. pushing out some super chat. I have them all here, but they don't all push out to the list for some reason. So thank you for the reminder. We have one here from Oz and Glorious, who says, personality-wise, Wardlow is, or has been, just boring pre-NWO Scott Steiner. He needs to go full unhinged Big Papa Pump nut job to make him interesting. I don't think that Wardlow, all due respect to Wardlow, has it in him to be quite as entertaining as just kind of whacked out, roided out, Big Pump Scott Steiner was. Like Steiner Math, for example. I don't think Wardlow can ever deliver a promo as entertaining as Steiner Math. Like, very few people could. Who else we got here? Let's see if we have anybody else. Is that the only one? I got everybody else here. Yes, I did. We got some new ones coming in, so let's get through these. Devin from New Jersey. Shout out to Devin. I'm going to send my proposal for world peace to Dave Meltzer and see if he gives it 5 stars. Wish me luck. It's only going to give 4 3/4. 4 3/4 is what you're going to get. And Wano Campo. Tribalism is strong in the chat. I love the E-drones and the all-friend wrestling dweebs going at it. And I always pop when you say Alberto Del Dipshit. Always. Now and always. Hey, Austin Tucker is going to be turning 30 years old this Saturday, so happy birthday to Austin. Maybe we can get Okada to force Alex Marvez to sing happy birthday to you. Scott Steiner ruled in 1992. The disrespect. Scott Steiner back then, man, he was a beast even then. Honestly, I mean, when I saw him swell up the way he did in the Monday Night War period, it was kind of sad. Now, I know that ultimately is what got him a world title. You know, him getting big that way is what got him more recognized. He ended up becoming a world champion. But he got too big. I mean, you get that big, it affects your work. And the Scott Steiner that you saw during the latter part of the Nitro era is not anything close to the Scott Steiner that we saw in the early 90s. Like, much better in-ring worker in the early 90s, can move around a lot better, and he was still a big guy. That's the thing that kills me about it. Like, you look at him, and he was still in great shape, he still had size to him, and he can move around. By the end of the 90s, I mean, it looked like he could barely move. Credit to him, though. You know, he went to TNA. He kept working. He was doing Hurricane Ranas off the top rope. It's not like he stopped working. It just, his quality of his in-ring work just suffered so much because the injuries piled on. He had drop foot syndrome and, you know, all kinds of issues. You know, but I look at Scott Steiner back in the day, and I'm like, man, you know, if you could have taken the personality from Big Papa Pump and just transplanted it into that version of Scott Steiner, it would have been perfect. Anyway, Austin, enjoy your birthday. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for Big Business tonight. Very good to go through all of your questions. We had some good ones tonight. Keep an eye out again tomorrow. Quick reminder here. The first installment of Sound Off Gamer, covering gameplay from WWE 2K24, is going to be going up on the channel. And it's not always pretty. So give it a watch. I think you'll be sports entertained, I hope. And then Friday night, live again after SmackDown for the recap. So until then, be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great night. And come on back for some more Sound Up live on Friday night. Take care, guys.